The rivalry between the Packers and the Lions is one of the oldest in the NFL, but the game that started it has been forgotten by everyone except for one small town in Ohio. And in order to understand the story, you need to know some context. Before the Lions were the Lions, they were the Portsmouth Spartans. The Spartans were based in Ohio, and they joined the NFL in 1930. And after only one season, they were one of the best teams in the league. And with only a few weeks to go, they were 10 and 3, and the defending champion Packers were 12 and 1. And at this time, there were no playoffs. The NFL champion was simply decided by who had the best record. So the Spartans' only hope was if they could win their final two games and the Packers would lose their final two, then force a championship deciding tiebreaker game, which had never happened before in NFL history and would basically be the first Super Bowl. Both teams had to play the Chicago Bears first, and then their final game was against each other. Well, first the Spartans beat the Bears, and then a week later, the Bears beat the Packers. So it all came down to this: the biggest game of the year, everything on the line, the climax of the entire season. The Packers canceled the game. They canceled it. They canceled it, and they released a statement, which you can still find on their website today, where they said, "Why would we jeopardize our title?" The Spartans pleaded to the commissioner, but the Packers claimed the game was only tentatively scheduled, and they were thus free to cancel it. And to this day, you can find the Packers proudly displaying their 1931 championship at Lambeau Field. So now jump to the next year, 1932, and we get to the game that really started it all between these franchises. The game that actually happened, that is. This time, the Spartans were in a somewhat similar situation. With one game to play, they needed to beat the Packers, but this time to force a tiebreaker with the Bears. And the Packers also needed the win to pass the Bears, so they weren't going to be canceling this one. But they might have wished they did, because this game was in Portsmouth, and the Portsmouth fans made it very clear how they felt about the Packers. They crowded the players the second they got off their train in Portsmouth. They were throwing oranges and eggs at them and hurling insults at them the whole time. In the end, the Ohio National Guard was called in just to make sure that the crowd behaved during the game. The Packers players complained they had never been treated with such unsportsmanlike behavior ever before. Before the game, Spartans head coach Potsy Clark told his players the only way he would sub anyone out was if he had to drag them off the field. And on December 4th, 1932, all 11 Spartan starters had what was known as an Iron Man game, where they played every snap on both sides of the ball and beat the Packers comfortably by a score of 19-0 to earn a spot in the championship game. A writer at the time said whether or not Portsmouth wins the championship, this season is already a success because the fans have their revenge by eliminating the Packers. And to this day, the game is known as the Iron Man game, and it is still heralded in Portsmouth, Ohio, and memorialized by a mural from Robert Dafford. The hatred that was born out of that canceled game has outlived the Spartans, who relocated to Detroit in 1935. And almost a century later, these teams still love to play spoiler whenever the opportunity arises. So that's why